point in the movie where Cassie and Cassie and Modoc have this exchange, and he's like, Modoc, like, it's like this young girl beats up Modoc. It was great. It didn't make any sense. But then it was like, and then Modoc's like, I don't know what to be. I don't know what to be. What can I be, Cassie? And he's like, just don't be a dick. And it's like, oh, who came up with this? Who actually said to themselves, okay, we're gonna have a film about this interesting concept about the quantum realm, all of that, and then be like, you know what? Let's just make Modoc say, let's just let them say, don't be a dick. And it's like, what? And this, like, there's two versions of this film. You could have went with the serious version, but you decided to make this film have a serious villain with Kang, and then undercut it with jokes. Like, and at this point where it gets too dramatic as well, it's like Antman, and gets big, it's like, Kang! He's like, Kang! You stole my daughter, and I'm gonna get her back, punk! And it's like, what? And then Modoc's like, holy shit, that's big! That's big! And don't even get me started on when Modoc goes towards Kang. It's like, my name is Jared, and I'm ready to dig! And it goes up close, like, Ugh! And he's like, Ugh! And it's like, what on planet Earth am I witnessing? And I didn't even watch this movie in HD. Right? And I'm just sitting here like, huh? It is the weirdest, like, it has, like, and there's also stuff like, drink the ooze. It was crazy what I was watching. I felt like I was watching a fever dream coming to life. And it's just a, oh man. I don't know how I don't know how you can really still enjoy Marvel at this point. Like, oh man. Like, people are gonna still eat this up.
You are about to experience the James Ramblin' Show, hosted by James Batty.
Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Show for yet another episode. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about how I saw Daniel Sloss, my thoughts on Antman 3 because I saw it recently, a couple other movies, and maybe something about April Fools or like A Dragon Ishin. I've been playing that. Like A Dragon Ishin. So there's quite a few things I'll be discussing on today's episode. But before we get into the episode itself, I'm just going to mention that I did 2 videos. Did one on my second channel about John Wick, or maybe actually 3 videos. I did the whole my 18th birthday. As you can see, there's those decorations back there. Did the 18th birthday, showed off what I got. Then we did the James Ramblin' reviews episode about John Wick 4, which I really did enjoy, and I kind of go into that. Didn't expect it to be like that short of a video, but we got the job done. Then I did this jokey meme video about Modoc, because I wanted to kind of have it there so that, you know, something to look back on because of how I felt about Ant-Man, how I imitated Modoc. So you have that stuff there. But, okay, so Daniel Sloss, right, I know this sounds like I'm beating a dead, what do you call that? Sound like a broken record, right? Sorry, there, okay. So, it might sound like a broken record with this, but I saw another stand-up show, and I've talked about stand-up like 3 or 4 times on this show, but I do like it, so I'll keep doing it if I need to. So I saw Daniel Sloss at the same event as Louis C.K. I went with my dad and my sister it wasn't for my birthday, but I went there, went to Auckland, went to see Daniel Sloss, and before I did that, the night or 2 before, I watched Netflix special like Jigsaw and Dark, and he's got that humour. He's got a similar style of humour to the comedians that I enjoy, and I've shown my love for like Louis C.K., who's like this crazy, extreme, like, kind of comedian, and then you've got Chris Rock, who kind of does deliver some of that dark humour, commenting on how, woke culture's screwed over comedy and stuff like that. And then you get Daniel Sloss, and the special's called Can't, and it refers to like things you can't joke about. But before that, he had a supporting act, and his name was Kai Humphries. They both do this podcast, and they kind of like promoted it throughout the show. But he was like Kai Humphries is the so he's from Yorkshire, I think. It's like, hello, like, my name is that Kai Humphries. So that's kind of like it was, and he had this joke. He had like a couple of like his jokes were like kind of darkish, but they weren't kind of like Daniel on the level of Daniel Sloss, because Daniel Sloss is the main event. But his jokes is like how English people say something. It's like, I'm going on holiday, and all of that stuff. So he kind of had that kind of humour, like that relatable life about that stuff. Then we get to Daniel Sloss, and his special was supposed to be like an hour and 30 minutes, but then went on for a bit longer because he did this bit about like this kind of segment about like how he's like a father, and he asked this person in the crowd, did you like your son right away? And he said no, and it was just like he just did that to play into the humour kind of thing. And Daniel's was like, you don't have to always have an honest answer, and that's kind of what motivated him to do that. But if outside of that, aside of like the humorous stuff, like Daniel Sloss, right? I had a bit of beer while I was at the show, and there's a point in the show where he made so many like jokes, like how when I went to see Louis C.K., the punchlines just went boom 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 boom, like the punchlines were just funny and funny and funnier, funnier. Same thing happened with Daniel Sloss, where it was like every single joke was funny, one after the other, one after the other. It got to the point I was like, like it was like that, and then I was gasping and things, and I was like, with my hand, I was like, like instead of like people are clapping like this, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like this. It's like this to my. I was like this. Yeah, 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 yeah. Let's go, yeah, yeah. Like that, and I was like, whoo, and then it was like those points where he told these jokes, right? It's like there's this kind of style he does where he's gonna say something like saying, "Oh, I like dogs have sex," but, and then it just leaves it for the crowd to laugh, and then he follows it up with something even funnier. There's all that, and I was like, because he joked about he just joked about a lot of things. He joked about a lot of things like reality TV and how it's became a new guilty pleasure and all that kind of thing, and joking about how like 17-year-old self versus his 23-year-old self or something like that, or 22-year-old self, yeah, something like that. So overall, I think it was a good event, and then afterwards, like there's tons of traffic when we went there. Like there was a lot of traffic, and yeah, like after we came out, it just took forever and ever and ever. But the show was long. Okay, I kind of rambled on about Daniel Sloth, but he is a good comedian, and I have listened to the podcast like slightly, but maybe we'll check it out a bit more. Hope Daniel Sloth does come back to New Zealand. And they did go, they kind of did, there's similar stuff, right? It's kind of just a similar topic overall. So there's that, but like Antman 3, before I get into my thoughts about it, right? I've not talked about movies in a couple months on this show, so I want to talk about it. But I'm saying that because a couple months ago, I had this clip, it's like, Ant-Man 3 trailer thoughts, could it turn the table and make the MCU come back to be better again? Right? Oh, that stuff. And I was like, oh, I hope it's a very good movie. But little did I know is that when I go onto the internet, I see people like saying, oh, it's a bad movie. It's got 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then it came to the point where I was so curious about this movie that I wanted to see it in theaters. And nobody wanted to see it with me in theaters, like my sister saying it was a terrible movie like that. And then, like 5 or 6 days ago, I did watch the movie, and I've got to say that, like, it was the opposite of what I was expecting, like what I've kind of expected. Then I seen the clips of MODOK and it was like, is this even real? Like, if you told me this movie, came out on April Fools, I would absolutely believe you. But it wasn't released on April Fools. It was released in February. It's because this movie is, man. There's a lot to explain with this film. But let me just put it straight, right? Let me just put it straight that we had Avatar 2 with all these great visuals, right? All those great visuals, right? You know, you could see the water, you could immerse yourself in this experience, you could just enjoy what was brought to you. But then in Ant-Man 3, there's like MODOK and his like face looks like a PS1 generated thing. It's like, oh man. Like, I heard that the visual effects department and Marvel kind of rushed all the production design or whatever for the CGI, and you can see that it did do that. And like I've said on my review show and kind of on this podcast that I've not liked a lot of the recent Marvel films. Like like Thor: Love and Thunder was a terrible movie. Then Wakanda Forever wasn't a fan of that, and then it was just like kind of average. And like the MCU was so good, and then it kind of fell off because 10 years of build up. How do you build? How do you build? How do you come back from something like that? So there's all that stuff, but yeah. So Ant-Man 3. I'll give you a quick rundown of the plot. So it's kind of like they go into the quantum realm and find all these new creatures, and then it's Kang, and it's supposed to be the first movie of Phase 5 as well. It's the first movie of Phase 5, sets up Kang, all like that. But I feel like, right, it's like you got all these characters. You got Wasp, all like that. You got Cassie, who it was weird because she was like more important in this movie than the other two movies. It was weird how that worked, and yeah, but there's like so many characters and all of that. So yeah, that's kind of the plot, right? But oh my god, I just didn't want it to be Thor: Love and Thunder again, and it turned into Thor: Love and Thunder again because there's like all of these jokes. It's like haha, laugh, 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 please laugh, please laugh, please laugh. It's like please, please, just please laugh, please laugh. Like, I saw Daniel Sloss and everything was funny, but there is humour in this movie that I think kids on the playground would actually make this up or laugh at it. Because, for example, right, there's this point in the movie where Cassie and MODOK have this exchange, and he's like, MODOK, it's like this young girl beats up MODOK. It was great, it didn't make any sense. But then it was like, and then MODOK's like, I don't know what to be. I don't know what to be. What can I be, Cassie? And he's like, just don't be a dick. And it's like, oh, who came up with this? Who actually said to themselves, okay, we're gonna have a film about this interesting concept about the quantum realm, all of that, and then be like, you know what? Let's just make MODOK say, let's just let them say, don't be a dick. And it's like, what? And this, like, there was two versions of this film. You could have went with the serious version, but you decided to make this film have a serious villain with Kang and then undercut it with jokes. Again, at this points where it gets too dramatic as well. It's like Ant-Man, it gets big. It's like Kang. He's like, Kang, you stole my daughter, and I'm gonna get her back, punk. And it's like, what? And then MODOK's like, holy shit, that's big. That's big. And don't even get me started on when MODOK goes towards Kang. It's like, my name is Jared, and I'm not a dick. And it goes up close, like, "Ugh!" And he's like, "Ugh!" And it's like, what on planet Earth am I witnessing? And I didn't even watch this movie in HD. Right? And I'm just sitting here like, huh? It is the weirdest, like, it has, like, and there's also stuff like, drink the ooze, drink the ooze. It was crazy what I was watching. I felt like I was watching a fever dream coming to life. And oh man. I, I, I don't know how people, I don't know how you can really still enjoy Marvel at this point. Like, oh man, like people are gonna still eat this up and consume it, but it's like, it's just, it's just, oh man, like it's just like they're not trying anymore. They're not trying to create good, innovative entertainment now. It's just, we'll make this. It's just like the McDonald's of filmmaking. It's like, okay, we're just gonna produce this non-stop, 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 and never leave any room to kind of, make it a bit more of quality. But no, they don't do that. They do not make it of quality, and they just want to make money and print money and milk freaking like 20 million characters and want you to watch 5 million shows so you can keep up with it. You know what I mean? It's embarrassing to see. It's actually embarrassing to see this, right? And I did have a Guinness earlier, so maybe I'm a bit all over it. I'm kind of got a lot of energy here, but I had a shower as well, so yeah. But yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, the jokes were just terrible, and the like Kang. I just don't know how we can get invested in Kang. We've only seen him in Loki and this movie, and I know like the whole point of Phase 5 is to set up Kang, but I feel like if they did it smarter, we would have had a bit more build up, a bit more understanding of this character. So I don't know if we're gonna see like Kang be as good as Thanos. So I think I went on it. I went on for a bit about Ant-Man, but yeah, it's a terrible movie, and I think every single YouTube channel has done this now. Like, yeah. There's Guardians 3 I'm still looking forward to, but nah. It's a missed opportunity, man. This movie is a missed opportunity indeed. So I'd seen two other movies. And those were Puss and Boots, The Last Wish, and Nope. Nope came out last year. And I'll talk about Nope first, because this is another movie, but it's like meh. So we've went down that path of talking about meh movies. So Nope is like, oh, I forgot what this movie's about actually. I might have to remind myself what this movie's even about. Right. Hold on a minute. We're gonna just search this up real quick. Nope. Right. A man and his sister discover something sinister in the skies above their California horse ranch, while the owner of a nearby theme park tries to profit from the mysterious otherworldly phenomenon. So that's kind of what it's about, but like the movie is still confusing. Like, I thought it's just a really confusing film, because like it's like this weird mysterious stuff, and it's like, oh, it's so mysterious, and it's gonna do this and this and this, and there's like this giant UFO flying around. There's like this monkey that kills people. All these weird things. And then it's like, once we get later into the film, you just have this UFO turn into some weird thing, and it just reveals that secret kind of thing. It's like weird. Like, it'd be more mysterious if we didn't know what was underneath it, you know what I mean? Like, it was sucking up all these bodies and stuff like that. And so, like, the main characters, like, this is a Jordan Peele movie, by the way. The main character says, I'm going to sacrifice myself for my sister or whatever, but he doesn't, and then he's just alive. And it's like, oh, we were we're the victors or whatever, and it just turns into a bag of cliches. And there's like some scares that weren't really that good, like there was this like spooky thing looming in the distance or whatever, and like it's just like these kids in costumes, so it was, oh, right. I don't know if it was like Ant-Man 3 is probably worse, right? I would but I wouldn't rewatch any of these two movies that I've just talked about, because Ant-Man 3 is just a textbook example of, you know, just the lack of trying to make a good story and just filling things in and making things too jokey and too serious, whatever. So it wasn't that, but okay. I'll quickly just take a drink because, okay. Alright. So we've done Daniel Sloss. We've done Ant-Man 3. We've done Nope. But I did talk about this movie this. I mentioned this movie like a couple months ago on the podcast, right, about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and I watched it like 2 or 3 days after Antman 3 or before Antman 3. I can't remember. I watched like 5 things in the 1 week this week, but like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, I was like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this movie. Is it any good? Is it worth going to the cinemas? But unlike Ant-Man 3, this actually surprised me that a kids movie was so compelling and dark and things of that nature. Like it's to do with how Puss in Boots loses eight of his 9 lives, and he has to get the last wish so that he himself can have a revived life and have more life and all that stuff. But it's like it has these dark fairy tales, and it has this stuff about life and death because there's this like wolf character. There's all of this stuff, and I watched it in HD, and the HD quality, the animation was nice. Everything about the film is great, and it was just a surprise. It was a surprise. Honestly, I did not expect a kids movie to be that dark and serious. And I've said on the show that I don't really watch Disney movies, and a lot of Disney movies apparently have kind of dark themes about them. But yeah, Puss in Boots: Last Wish. Right, out of the 3 movies I watched this week, right, Puss in Boots surprised me. I think Puss in Boots is better than Ant-Man 3 and Thing Me Nope combined. So I just think, yeah, man, I've had some like good, bad, and the ugly kind of stuff. Especially ugly. Like the good is Puss in Boots: Last Wish and Daniel Sloss, and then the bad is like Ant Man. The bad and ugly is Ant Man 3 actually because of that ugly CGI. I became the ultimate weapon. I know that. All right, enough of that. Right. So we've talked about those 3 movies. We've talked about Daniel Sloss, but I played like a Dragon Ishin, and I talked about this like a month ago or so on the James Ramlin show, and I've said stuff about Yakuza and how I've enjoyed it, but I have to say that yeah, like a Dragon Ishin is amazing, right? You play as Sakamoto Ryoma, and he's like it's like Kiryu's face is on it, but like all the voice actors are back. Like there's familiar faces you witness or you see in the game if you've played the previous games. You get all of that stuff, and it's like it's set in the samurai period, and you can use fists and then pistols and then swords. There's like a good variation of combat fighting styles, so that's great. It's great to see all the faces back. And then I got up to this moment where there was like this boss fight where it was in a bathhouse and it was hilarious. And it was like the character, it was Ryuji from Yakuza Kiwami 2. Like his face was on it. Like his face was on it, and you were fighting him. The boss was called Large Man. But that I think that whole thing about the samurai stuff, where it is actually turns into a revenge story, where Sakamoto Ryoma's like dad dies, and then there's like this revenge story they have to go on, and it was kind of cool to see that. And you had to fight all these people in this building, like all these enemies, and it just like kind of maintains the magic of Yakuza. It's like a franchise that consistently has, the silliness, right? Right, I'm gonna say this, that the silliness and the seriousness in Yakuza is done way better in Ant-Man 3 and Thor: Love and Thunder. Like they actually make sense because it's a bit over the top because it's a video game, and then it's like, oh, there's a deep and dark story. And I'm glad that at least is good and it just delivers that. So yeah, and honestly, the whole like unbalanced humor and seriousness stuff it shows like bad writing because there's no way to deteriorate like what is going on. So yeah, I mean, other than that, really, I think it kind of went on for a bit, but I don't really have that much stuff to talk about in terms of April Fools because there's not been a lot of things. And most of this episode is going to barely even touch on April Fools. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to check out my John Wick 4 review, of course. Don't forget to check out some of that other content I put out this week. And I'll continue to make this podcast. So yeah, this was another great, fun addition to the podcast indeed. So I'll get out of here before it goes on for 30 more minutes. Bye.